Ever find yourself, reaching for that afternoon snack, even if you're not really hungry? Or like finishing everything on your plate just because it's there, even when you're already feeling pretty satisfied. It's like we're so used to these routines and habits and whatever's put in front of us that we kind of lose touch with our body's natural signals about when and how much to eat.
Right. It's easy to get disconnected.
Totally. And then you get that overly full feeling like, why did I eat all that? It makes you wonder if there's a simpler, a more intuitive way to approach something as basic as eating. What if we could just actually listen to what our bodies are telling us?
Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today. We're zeroing in on chapter 12 this time, hunger and appetite.
Okay, hunger and appetites.
Yeah, and the mission here is to pull out those practical nuggets, those actionable insights that can help us understand how much we should really be eating.
I like it.
What's really interesting is how straightforward the source material is on this. Like, it cuts through so much of the noise around diet and nutrition these days.
It does. And for our listener out there who's looking for a clear, no-nonsense guide to this whole thing, like how much food does my body actually need?
Yeah.
Without getting lost in all the complicated rules and fad diets and all that.
Right.
This is for you. We're going to break down the key takeaways from chapter 12 stuff you can actually start thinking about and maybe even using in your daily life right away.
Okay, so let's jump right into the core principle here. This is like the big idea in chapter 12. You should stop eating the instant you feel that first hint of your hunger decreasing. Like, that's it. That's the answer to how much to eat.
So simple, right? And the text is so clear about it. It says, you are never to eat until you have an earned hunger, and you are to stop eating the instant you begin to feel that your hunger is abating. Like, there's no wiggle room there.
No, not really.
Straight and to the point.
It is. And you know what? It goes on to say that if you ignore this inner signal, there are consequences. Yeah, like, when you keep eating past that point where your hunger starts to go down, it's not about nourishing your body anymore. It's about taste. It's about appetite. The chapter even calls it excess and mere debauchery.
Oh, debauchery?
Yeah, strong words. It cannot fail to work mischief, it says. So the real skill here, the key, is to become a detective of your own body, to distinguish between real need for fuel and just wanting to eat for the pleasure of it.
Okay, so we got to get clear on this difference between actual hunger and just, wanting to eat because something looks good or because it's lunchtime or whatever.
Right, exactly.
And this actually goes back to something we talked about before in chapter 9. Remember where it talked about hunger versus appetite?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So just to recap, genuine hunger, that's your body's physiological signal saying, hey, I need fuel.
Like a rumbling stomach or feeling low energy.
Exactly. But, Pato, that's more of a psychological thing of desire for a certain taste or a texture.
It's like that craving for something specific.
Yeah. And chapter 12 really zeroes in on how tempting foods like desserts.
Yeah.
Oh, man. They can make us keep eating way past the point of actual hunger.
That's true.
Like you finish your main meal, you're feeling good, and then dessert comes out, and suddenly there's room for more. But the text is saying, even those seemingly wholesome desserts, like, pie or cake, if we're eating them out of appetite, not real hunger, it's still a problem.
Yeah, it can throw things off balance.
Totally. And here's a wild idea from the chapter. What do you think about this? If you really want dessert, eat it first.
Oh, wow.
And then move on to the plainer, more basic foods.
Huh. That's interesting. I've never thought about it that way.
Yeah, what do you make of that?
Well, what strikes me is the logic behind it. You see, if you're truly experiencing that deep hunger, even plain foods, even simple things will taste good, will be satisfying.
Because your body actually needs it.
Exactly. And the source material says that when you consistently eat only when you've earned that hunger, your sense of taste actually gets more refined. You start to enjoy those basic foods more. It's like your body really appreciates them.
It's like instead of always chasing the most intense flavors, you're letting your body's needs kind of guide your taste buds.
That's a good way to put it. And the text contrasts this with someone who overeats habitually. It calls them a glutton. And it says that the person who eats only when they're truly hungry gets so much more satisfaction from every bite.
It's like they savor it more because their body's really receiving it.
Yeah, exactly. So we've talked about when to stop, but chapter 12 also gets into how much to eat. And it's pretty surprising how little food it actually suggests we need to be healthy.
It is kind of eye-opening.
Yeah. So the amount you need is directly tied to how physically active you are.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right. So if you're doing really demanding physical work all day, like the example it gives is a wood chopper working out in the cold,
Right.
you're going to need way more food, maybe even 2 big meals.
Yeah, you're burning a ton of calories.
But for someone with a more sedentary job, a brain worker, as the text says, someone who's sitting in a heated office all day, their needs are way lower, like maybe just a fraction of what they might typically eat.
It really makes you rethink those portion sizes, doesn't it?
It does.
Especially for those of us with desk jobs.
Yeah.
Most of us are probably eating way more than we actually need. The text even says that brain workers often eat like 3 to 10 times more than their bodies actually require. And it says all that extra stuff, all that surplus rubbish, it puts a huge strain on our energy and can lead to health problems.
It's like we're overloading the system.
Totally.
And, when we get rid of that excess, we reduce the burden on our bodies, and it allows what the source calls the principle of health within us to work better.
Principle of health.
Yeah, it's like the body's natural ability to heal and function at its best. And this ties back to what we've been exploring all along, right?
Right. Yeah.
That our bodies have this amazing capacity to regulate themselves when we give them what they need.
Okay, so this whole idea of eating only when you're truly hungry and stopping as soon as you start feeling satisfied, it's not just some random diet rule.
No, it's more fundamental than that.
Yeah. It's presented as the way to answer all those confusing questions we have about food. When to eat, what to eat, how much to eat.
Exactly. It all connects. Remember eating when you've earned your hunger from Chapter 9?
Yep.
And choosing those staple foods that are natural to where you live from Chapter 10?
Yeah.
It all works together with this principle of stopping when that hunger starts to ease up. And remember the how to eat stuff from Chapter 11. Chewing, thoroughly enjoying your food.
Yeah.
Well, when you're really tuned in to your hunger and you're savoring each bite, you're way more likely to notice that moment when you've had enough. It's pretty amazing how it all comes together.
So we really got to trust those inner signals our body's telling us. The chapter talks about how reliable our subconscious mind is at knowing when we need to eat and when we've had enough. So we have this built-in guidance system.
I like that, a guidance system, but we often ignore it and listen to all these external cues and habits.
Right, like the clock or the size of the plate.
Exactly. And the text says that if we eat all our food for hunger and none of it just for taste, we will naturally not overeat.
Makes sense.
And by the same token, if we eat whenever we feel true hunger, we're ensuring our bodies are getting what they need. It's about getting back in sync with those signals our bodies are giving us.
Now, the chapter even talks a little bit about drinking, which is interesting. It seems like those same principles apply there, too.
Absolutely. It's pretty much the same advice. Drink when you're thirsty, stop when the thirst starts to go away.
Simple.
It does allow for a few occasional exceptions, like a weak cup of coffee, but it warns against constantly drinking sugary drinks or artificial stuff just because you like the taste or out of habit. So whether it's food or drink, the underlying idea is to respond to your body's real needs.
So to sum it all up, the big takeaway from our deep dive into Chapter 12 is this. Pay attention to your hunger signals. Eat only when you're truly hungry, and stop eating the moment you start feeling that satisfaction that your hunger is easing.
And for our listener who's maybe feeling a little overwhelmed by all the conflicting diet advice out there, this offers a really clear and simple framework for understanding portion control and practicing mindful eating.
It's about getting back to basics, tuning in to your body's wisdom, instead of following all these complicated rules.
Right. It's about trusting your body.
So here's something to think about next time you're about to eat. Before you take that first bite, pause for a moment and ask yourself, am I really hungry right now, or am I eating for some other reason? And then while you're eating, pay close attention to how you feel. Notice that first moment when you feel that little bit of satisfaction, when the edge of your hunger is gone. What would happen if you stopped eating right then? Even if there's still food on your plate, it could be a huge step towards changing your relationship with food for the better.
I think that's a great place to leave it. Food for thought.
Food for thought, literally. Okay, till next time, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks, everyone.